Welcome to Late Horror Show. I'm Dino as always, and we are going to get ready to talk about Night Gallery. I must say this one is quite sad when I start to talk about it. So here we go, intro, and then let's talk.
Is it just me? Or is it getting crazier out there?
Hey everybody, welcome to Late Horror Show. What is going on? Good to see you. Good to see each and every one of you. I can't quite see the chat. It is messed up on Restream. How weird. Unbelievable. Let's see. Can I close that out and bring the chat back? No, I'm going to look as it appears on screen, just like you guys see it. Hey, Paul Ham, Connie Clary, John Swan. Let me go back to the stream on YouTube. Jimmy D is here. Edward Stewart is here. Andrea Black. Frank Mancini, what's going on? We are going to talk Night Gallery. This is a sad episode. Now I'll get into the many reasons why this one. The last one isn't. This consists of a 40-minute first part. They're tearing down Tim Riley's bar. That's like 40 minutes long, and then there's the last story that's 10 minutes long, which we'll talk about, and we could talk about that in like 2 minutes. Season 1, episode 6, from January 20th, 1971. How old were you in that when this aired? Anyways, let's see. Horror Junkie for Life. Is that Horror Junkie for? Where's Horror Junkie for? Oh, I thought that was Edward Stewart. What's going on? Good to see you. Glenn Dunaway. I think that's an awesome thing that you're doing. Giving back to people who need it. Way to go, my friend. Way to go. Way to go. Let's see who else is here. Tune, Andrea. Noobs, I'm not sure what's up. Again, strange comments, man. I don't know. The heart that appears in the chat that floats around and stuff, that's to show love for the stream and the video and stuff. So I'm not sure why you're trying to get rid of it, and it's annoying, but whatever, it's okay. Let's see. Paul Ham, this episode was nominated for an Emmy at the time. Sadly, it didn't win. Yeah, and I'm going to talk about it. I'm not sure how long I'll go on with talking about these two stories in this episode, but definitely a good episode. I tend to sway towards things that are emotional and that really hit you hard. And the first story, they're tearing down Tim Riley's bar, really does that. Rod Serling, I think, trying to make a point about love and loss, and what it can do to your life. You can kind of just like that, 25 years have gone by, which happens to Mr. Lane, which I'll talk about in a second, in the snap of two fingers. It's just all gone 25 years later, and you've just dwelled on what happened forever. And it's like, how do you get over the loss of somebody you love? It's very, very deep, I think, this episode. Whereas the second story, The Last Laurel, which has Jack Cassidy, which me and Dave talk about all the time because he's on a couple episodes of Columbo, and heck, he was in a lot of TV shows back in the day. So Jack Cassidy, in The Last Laurel, man, listen, we could sum that one up in 2 minutes, like I said, but what an episode. I mean, the way that ends, and we'll talk about that at the end. I mean, we'll just wind it out with talking about it, because this episode really consists of they're tearing down Tim Riley's bar, and I think a good title too. I really love the title. Can't highlight nothing, that's for sure, because the chat ain't working on Restream, but Tomorrow's Diana Baker's birthday. She'll be 86. Edward Stewart, thank you. Can't highlight it up on the screen because Restream ain't working. But thank you, Edward Stewart. Yes, Diana Baker. Diana Baker, who plays the secretary in this episode. And let me go over the characters. Yeah, and you know what? Me and Dave Plouffe, make sure you hit that thumbs up first. Check out the description below, all that good stuff. Pin to the chat if you want to support the channel for the overnight streams. Do got CBS Radio Mystery Theater all night tonight. Got timestamps. I've been putting these up as their fixed audio and all that good stuff. And yeah, so good stream tonight. Me and Dave Plouffe talking the Wild Wild West for very first episode tomorrow night. That should be very, very fun. Can't wait to talk about that. Haven't seen the Wild Wild West. Have I seen, I don't think, I vaguely seen bits and pieces here and there of the Wild Wild West, another show I've missed out on. But as Dave will say, here we go. Let's take a ride, right? Bill Boyer, what's going on? Yeah, Diana Baker, very, very cute in this episode and very, very touching in this episode. Don't mean to take, listen, this is Night Gallery. It's supposed to be kind of mysterious, horror themed kind of, but not necessarily. Rod Serling tries to make points a lot of the time with whether it's political or whether it's, just on the nature of man and all that good stuff. But anyways, let's start talking about their tearing down Tim Riley's bar. Who do we got? We got Mr. Randy Lane, played by William Wyndham, who has been in everything. He's been in everything throughout the years, you know what I mean? Back in the day. Even played the president in Escape from the Planet of the Apes, which, just by chance, Mr. Pritkin, his boss, John Randolph, played the chairman in Escape from the Planet of the Apes. So how they converged and both got on this episode, who knows? Maybe because of Rod Serling, right? Anyways, let's see. Laurel, Southern Coke drinker, what's going on? Good to see you. It's a get show. Okay, Sweet Indigo, what's going on? Good to see you, Sweet Indigo. Okay, so let me continue on. Mr. Randy Lane, William Wyndham. You guys would know him immediately once you've seen his face. His character is just so prevalent. He's one of those guys who, again, played in everything and lots of things. Diane Baker is the secretary, and she is played by, I should have wrote that down. She plays Lynn Alcott, Diane Baker. Lynn Alcott, the secretary to Mr. Randy Lane. And there's a relationship there that is very sweet and very touching. She cares about him. She really, really cares about Mr. Lane. She knows his life story. She knows everything that's gone on in his life, which basically, let me round out the two other characters and then we'll get into the plot and the story. He's got his rival, Harvey Doan, who is played by Bert Convy. You would know his face too. Actor, producer, died before he was 60 years old. But one of those faces you would go, oh, Bert Convy. I even think he did game shows back in the day or was something like that. I can't quite picture it. Then we got H.E. Pritkin, who plays John Randolph. H.E. Pritkin, you probably, just by hearing the name John Randolph, you wouldn't know who that is. But if you've seen the face, you would go, I mean, he's one of those actors who was in everything. Great actor. Just John Randolph. Who's John Randolph? But he plays the boss of the firm. It's an advertising agency. And so that's basically the four characters. Let me see who's here. JLR, what's going on? Good to see you. Edward Stewart says William Wyndham made a TV debut in 1949 in the NBC anthology series, The FICO Television Playhouse. There you go. Edward Stewart with some deep information and some facts there. But getting into this, again, this isn't very horror-like. This isn't very supernatural. Although there are some flashback elements to this, I think it's in the head of Mr. Randy Lane. So he works at this advertising agency, which he started 25 years ago, and basically throughout that entire 25 years, he's gotten no recognition, who cares? He's just another worker there. He's worked there for 25 years. Who cares? But I think the biggest part of it was 19 years ago, his wife died. That's what they said in here, 19. He's worked for the company 25 years. But soon after, he met his wife at Tim Riley's bar. Okay. She died. And it shows that throughout the 25 years, I think he's dwelled on that and dwelled on it to the point that he never made himself out to be the great employee or salesman or whoever because his wife died. And he even takes some guilt with him because he returns to the house that they lived at one point, and he tells the story to Diane Baker, the secretary, who's so sweet, so very sweet. He's standing in the rain, and he starts talking about how, this is the night it happened when his wife was rushed to the hospital. And a little stuffy here. I don't know why. Anyways, he goes, this was the night that it happened. She got rushed to the hospital, and by the time he made it to the hospital, she was already dead. He kept telling her to go to the hospital and all that, but she died of pneumonia. And he said if he would have just done something, taken her to the doctors, done anything, she was stubborn, she would have maybe been alive. I don't know. But he seems to hold on to that guilt. And for the whole 19 years or so, that's what they said, 19 years, he's held on to this guilt, which has affected his life. And they don't really state if he's been a drunk the whole time that he's worked there. But approaching this 25th anniversary of his employment there, which happens to be the same day that his wife died, he's not feeling very well. So he's drinking. He's not showing up to work, for about who knows how long. You're not showing up for work, anymore. Where are you spending your days? It's because they're tearing down Tim Riley's bar. And Tim Riley's bar's got his pop used to hang out there. His wife, that's where he met her. It's just, and you know what? The flashbacks, which keep happening, which is an interesting part of this episode, and one that you say it's in his head. He's flashing back in memories. He's going through a lot here, and I think that's what it is, other than supernatural, especially the way this episode ends. Let me go to chat real quick. Sergeant, what is up, Sergeant? Tough to get 25 years at a company anymore. Oh God, yeah. George Daly, what's going on? Good to see you. Definitely good to see everybody in the chat tonight. Definitely be sure to give that thumbs up button. But this Tim Riley's bar, during the flashbacks a little bit later, he starts hearing everybody saying, for he's a jolly good fella, for he's a jolly good fella. Coming back from World War II, where he's greeted, there's a big sign. This almost reminds me, this episode or story, of It's a Wonderful Life. It somewhat reminds me of that. Although this episode in particular, it's about death and the loss of a loved one, whereas It's a Wonderful Life is about changing their life. This incorporates some of that into this episode about changing your life. You can't dwell on the past, and it's sad when you see Diane Baker, his secretary, who cares about him and I think loves him. Yeah, I mean, I know loves him. She's been his secretary for many, many years, and she's come to know who he is, know that he has loss, and is passionate for how he feels and what he's going through over all these years. And it's sad during this episode when you see that she's pushing herself on him, trying to let him know in as many ways as possible that, hey, Randy, I care about you. You don't have to feel all the loss that you feel. You don't have to feel sad. It's been many years. You should move on. I care about you enough that she wished he would show back, but he just keeps pushing and pushing away. And I just thought that was so sad. And I understood to a point that no matter how hard she keeps pushing, the love and loss that he felt. Imagine finding your soulmate, that person that you want to live every second with, and you can't, okay? And the enjoyment and just everything that person brings to you. And soon after, they die. And you're right in that phase where just everything in the world just means everything to you, because the most important thing in your life is right there in front of you. And then you lose it at that peak, and it's like, what, how can you can't just get rid of that. I mean, that's what therapy and all that stuff's for, but to have that loss, and listen, I'm trying not to get too deep, but it got me. The whole episode just got me so sad. I'm just like, oh man, this is tough. But he's basically a man that's broken down, and after 25 years at this company, he's got no recognition and nobody cares. And it's funny that Diane Baker, the secretary, she actually keeps mentioning to the boss, Mr. Pritkin, interesting name, Mr. Pritkin, that, hey, you got to remember, today's also the day that he lost his wife, but he doesn't care. He doesn't care. And, if you're the boss, of course, you got to understand that you got to be at work, right? You can't show up drunk and all those, you can't stay outside. But the dynamics of what's going on there, where nobody recognizes you for the work that you've done or being there for as long as you have, and then the loss and everything else. And then you got Diane Baker, his secretary, trying to reel him in and show him that, listen, there is more life out there. There's stuff to live for. And then this Tim Riley's bar, I'm looking at it going, if there was a place like, I love that. I love those old little, not that I like a bar, but one of those hangout spots, back in World War II, which they do show glimpses where his dad's sitting in a chair. Remember back in the day, like the 40s, where you can go to a bar like that, where it's not all about the booze. It's about the camaraderie of all the people and friends and family sitting there hanging out. Even the guy playing the piano, it's everybody knew the names of everybody. And again, he met his wife there. And it's just like, I just think of that whole thing as so cool. And I think Rod Serling, part of what he was trying to do was, the breaking down of culture, neighborhoods, the breaking down of what used to be good, and the connection people had and all that. And even back in 71, stuff like this was going on with corruption in cities, and just things not being peaceful and normal to in neighborhoods the way they were. So I think there was a little bit of that Rod Serling was trying to throw in on this episode, because they're not only tearing that down, they mention that the old White House that Randy and his wife moved into, they're tearing that whole block down to put up a brand new apartment complex all along that corner of that street. Thus, again, putting up new and tearing down the old. Even there's a police officer in here who, after Randy leaves the office once again and goes to the bar, it's barren. It's boarded up, it's closed, it's locked. You can see through the window, but the cops there, and there's a really cool discussion that goes on between Randy and the police officer about growing old and aging, and things not being the way they used to be. The police officer starts to say, listen, there was a time when I had a gallop in my step. I used to love. I thought I would bring down Al Capone, was his words in this episode. I thought I would bring down Al Capone, and he goes, and what am I after all these years later? Because he's known Randy since the beginning, 25 years, and he kind of has a connection with him in this episode, and he says, after all these years, what do I got? I wake up, and instead of wanting to go out for a walk, I'd run the bath with some Epsom salts because he's hurting, and the pains and the aches and all the years that's gone by. And what is he doing? He's just hoping for a good night. That's his words right there. He's like, he's just hoping for a good night. That's all, walk his beat and have a great night. So, they're both kind of reminiscing there about, the past and, how things used to be when they were young, and, everything was good and happy. Listen, I know I'm going down here. Hopefully you guys are, hey, WTF Horror and Sci-Fi, what's going on? Good to see you. Anybody else pop in? John Randolph, wife Sarah Cunningham, died of asthma attack at the 1986 Oscars telecast. Wow. Oh my Lord, that's bad. That's not good. But and then we got Harvey Doan in here, who's the rival, and he's just an ass. The sadness aside, there starts to be this. There's always been a rivalry between those two. He's always trying to take him down, but he's not good enough. But he's always tattling on him. It's like, come on, dude, what's wrong with you? It's so childish, but that's what happens even in jobs and stuff like that. So I get it. I'm trying to go in order here for there is a point where she actually, when he's got a tear in his eye and he's reminiscing back again, where Diane says, listen, I've got dinner, I can cook you something up, you can come back, we can eat. And he's in his nicest, politest way. He says he understands how great you are to me and all of that good stuff, and he declines, because nothing's going to come between the wedge that is holding him or stopping him from moving on. Imagine going 19 years and just not really being not being able to move on. I've got stories in my life, not me, but people, family members, my own father, who I never seen most of my life. I remember my father up to the age of 4 years old. And did I tell you guys this story? Since we're a little sad here, he disappeared from my life around 4 years old. Got vague images of him, and didn't see him all the way up until like 30. Well, 30 years old, I tracked my father down. Okay. And called him on the telephone, was going to meet up with him. The day I was going to meet up with him, this is a true story. Day I was going to meet up with him, I get a call that he's just passed away. So I feel it was meant to be because he was an alcoholic. He was somewhat like Randy here. You know, things didn't go a certain way when you're young. He started drinking. The rest of his life probably chasing down or dwelling in what could have been. And stuff like that happens, So that little stretch there kind of, yeah, it was tough for me in my life, man. Not easy, but anyways, getting back to the episode here, little too much information put out there, but I'm always open to you guys probably know more about my life than people down the street, right? Anyways, so reminiscing with the police officer, and then all of a sudden these things start happening. Edward Stewart, wild prayers, pops. Yep. Again, didn't know didn't know him very well at all. So wanted to, but it is what it is. So all of a sudden, what starts happening in the episode is he starts to hear voice, like he's at the bar and just looking at it, it's all locked up and closed. Then he starts to walk away, and then he hears for he's a jolly good fella, for he's a jolly good fella, and runs back and looks into the little rubbing off the dust on the window, and he sees everybody like it's 1940, what was it, 44 or 47, somewhere around there. And he's like, oh my God, I've just went back in time. And this is kind of again, I don't call it supernatural because his memory's just taking him back there. He's drunk. He's going through stuff, and he's going back to his child or his younger years. And he hurries up and gets to the door, or I think he turns around and then looks back again, and they're gone. It's all gone. So this starts happening when he goes back to the office. He gets a call. The office turns into like when he first started there, okay? And you see like Pritkin and everybody else just like, here's to 25 years, hopefully, and, of certain, whatever. So it's flashbacks, and then it goes back. So he's not really thinking he's going crazy, but he's trying to, the character and what the episode was trying to do was not that he was going crazy. They were trying to show that he was trying to hold on to and bring back the memories that possibly he is losing or he lost. Again, which is another sad thing, because with the loss of like the loved ones, just people you love dearly, the scary part is the feeling of the loss that you'll never get back, right? And the forgetting of what you had or what was there. That's something that everybody's going to face in life, and it's something that I think it's a message he was trying to get across in this episode, because he wasn't going crazy. He was just trying to hold on to all of that, and he kept getting the flashbacks of it, and flashbacks and flashbacks. And let me turn the page. I did take some notes, people. She did. Let's see. Randy hears music again, opens the door 25 years later. Police and Randy. Okay, so yeah, he's basically going to end up quitting his job, kind of. That's the whole thing that's going on there. He kind of just is giving up. He tells Diane, his secretary, he says, basically, I want to take and go to the place that I want to be. So, which is Riley's bar. And looking at my thing here, getting into the ghost from the past, has to go to the old house. Yeah, the cop interrupts. He goes there and he's drunk. He breaks in. The cops try to come and get him. This just keeps going on. And we finally get to the cop takes him to the house where it's raining, and Diane shows up right on the street, pulls up. She knew he was there. Again, another touching moment where he's looking at the house that his wife died in, and the rain starts, and that's when it happened. And he actually does flash like straight to the hospital, and the doctor tells him she passed away, and like he was right there. So he's reliving these repressed memories, these memories that are coming out. I think that's what's going on with the majority of this episode, because of he wouldn't have been able to work for 25 years at this company if this was a daily occurrence. I think just this is just like a breakdown in his life, which happens, right? Yeah, a weird episode, very, very sad and very deep. I don't know what Rod Serling was trying to get across with this one, but and even the painting at the beginning, Paul, I mean, I understand a little bit. I don't know if you explained or anybody touched on it, but it's faces and it's like cracked and there's like little forebit. The paintings are just so awesome. I mean, I would love these paintings on my wall. Listen, this one was sad. And then the story behind it is even sadder, but yeah, it is what it is. So Diane says, get in a car, you're going to need a ride home because it's raining. But basically what ends up happening is he ends up going to jail and spending the night in jail. So he ends up coming back. Well, there's a commotion at work where Pritkin, his boss, says, listen, you and Mr. Doan, Bert Convy, you guys are equal salespeople. So where Bert Convy before would answer to Randy, they're both equal now. And Diane also gets the notice that she's no longer going to be Randy's secretary. She's going to be the secretary for Mr. Doan, Bert Convy. Hold on. The one day I don't bring ginger ale down here. What is wrong with me? I've got a dry mouth and I'm coughing. Yeah, that's right. That's what's going on. So at the office, all of that's going on. Like, and then, she's told that she's Bert Convy. And then he tells her something because he's tattling to Mr. Pritkin about he's in the clunker. He's in jail. And what does that mean? That means, well, you know what? I need to have a talk with him. He's going to lose his job. He's done. He's done with the company. After 25 years, he's done. And what ends up happening is Bert Convy, Mr. Doan, hollers at her, and she says, you know what? I wouldn't work for you for all the money in the world. You can go to hell. I love that. I mean, her dedication to Randy is just unbelievable. Her love for him is even more so. And man, I wanted to just grab her and go, man, you are such a great woman. It was so awesome. That certainly stood out in this episode. And Randy comes back through the office. Diane's fired, but he goes back in his office, and there's, a display back and forth between Diane and him. And then he gets a call from Mr. Pritkin on the phone, and basically saying you're fired, and he said, well, I'll be out in 10 minutes. Let me see. Francis McCloskey, what's going on? Paul Hamm. With those paintings, the artist was given a brief synopsis of the story, and then he made an interpretation on canvas, basically. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Um, because I know there's stories behind some of these paintings, but haven't gotten into it yet. But that painting I really like. Shalom Ahava, good to see you. Evening. Vicky Array, good to see you. Everybody who's in the chat, good to see you this evening. A very sad episode, very deep, lots of reflection going on about love and loss and all that good stuff until we get to the last one, the last Laurel, and then we'll talk about craziness. But yeah, what ends up, and CBS Radio Mystery Theater all night tonight with timestamps, fixed audio, all good, really good stories picked out. Hopefully you enjoy. A couple Fred Gwynns in there. Anyways, so he walks out of the office, and I love that she breaks down and she says, listen, I don't work here no more either. I'm going wherever you go. And that's when he says, you can't go where I'm going. You can't go where I'm going. And I wondered what that meant. Like, was he ready to just end it all? I mean, if she couldn't go where he's going, I think that he was just, that's it. He was done. But what he ends up doing is he ends up going back to Tim Riley's bar, and he hears all of this music again. After they're getting ready to tear it down and all that, he goes in there, and as he's walking away, hears "For He's a Jolly Good Fellow" again. "For He's a Jolly Good Fellow" goes in there as they wake up his pops, and they're all telling him, they're talking to him, and then he sees his wife finally and gives her a big kiss, and he's happy. He's like, wow, the ghosts from the past, they're here, they're real. I don't want any of you guys leaving ever again. He doesn't want that moment, which is back in like right when he came from World War II. His wife's there, his pops is there, all that. He doesn't want to lose that again. But then realization starts to pop in, because, and this was great scene in this episode, to round this episode out, all of the people in the bar, which is a flashback, to his wife and everybody at the time in 1947. I think that's the year 44, 47. And they all stop. The music, the piano stops, and they all look like up front, because they hear the jackhammering and stuff going on. And they're all in the realization that, and they start talking amongst themselves like they're tearing this place down. And one by one, his pops and everybody else starts to say, listen, it's over, basically trying to tell Randy that, listen, it's over, it's done, they're tearing it down, there's nothing, the memories, whatever, how you're going to interpret this, it's going. So, and then they start to fade to black one by one. They go dark, the lights dim, and then they get to the wife, and he goes, please not you, please not you, I can't lose you again, don't go. And she starts to sing, "For all acquaintance be forgotten," and she starts singing that, and she's singing it and singing it and singing it, and the look in his eyes and the realization, and then his wife starts to go dark, and then the next thing you know, the whole place is dark, and he's snapped out of it by a worker there saying, listen, you got to get out of here, we're tearing this place down. And you almost see in his demeanor the realization that there's nothing more I can do. It actually is getting torn down. And while all this is going on, you see the big metal ball that, the cranes would take this, just smash the building in during that time period. I think they still do. I don't know how that goes. I'm not in the construction business. But he starts to walk down the street, Okay. Oh, let me say this too. Back at the office, as Randy left and Diane is there, Diane goes into Mr. Pritkin's office and she starts reaming him a new one. Man, I love this woman. Oh, I love this woman, man. Uh, she starts to kind of fight for Randy and say, "Listen, man, you know, everything that he's been going through. He's been at this company for 25 years, and you couldn't even give him a gold watch, something to show appreciation. You couldn't even give him a nice comment or just something nice to say to pick up his spirits." She says this, and the camera just pulls in close to Mr. Pritkin. And you see it in his eyes. He's like going, after she reams him a new one, like, yeah, you know what? You're right. You're right. I mean, that's what he's saying. You can see it in his eyes, in his face. So flashing back to Randy leaving Tim Riley's bar, as he's walking down the street, he hears the same music kind of coming out of another place across the street called Antoine's. And they're saying, "For he's a jolly good fella." It was a little weird because it's like, how did they know that he would technically leave the bar at the time and hear him unless somebody was looking out the window? I don't know what, but they're saying, "For he's a jolly good fella." And he hears it and he goes running into the restaurant, Antoine's. And as he runs in there, he sees Pritkin. "Hey, CM, what's going on?" He was ready to be with his wife. Yes. Good to see you, CM. This episode is the pinnacle of achievement for the show or for any show, CM. Listen, I'm trying to explain through most of this, like how much it touched me, so there it is. Very sad, CM, very poignant in its message, but this episode, the story ends with him walking into Antoine's, where Mr. Pritkin is saying, "For he's a jolly good fellow." He's in a suit. Diane's right next to him, all dressed up in a beautiful dress, and Bert Convey's not, Mr. Doan's not. That's his name. Let's see. I can make sure I don't get it wrong. I like the Harvey Doan. Bert Convey. He's nowhere to be seen, but everybody else from the office is there, and they're basically congratulating him. And Mr. Pritkin comes out and he's tightening his tie up, pushing his hair back, and saying, and he's seeing what everybody's doing. And Pritkin says, "For 25 years of achievement, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I hope for 25 more." So he was fired, but there's a scene at the end here where they're all congratulating him. Like, Diane convinced him to listen, give him a chance. If somebody's got a different idea on how that ending can be interpreted, please let me know, because I see it as somehow they got in Antoine's, they're congratulating him and giving him the 25th anniversary that he should have had, and he's going to have a job waiting for him, and hopefully a new start with Diane, the woman who loves him, his secretary. So hopefully they don't say, because it just ends right there. That's the way it ends. It ends with you thinking he's got his job back. He finally got the recognition, and the way he left, and everybody, the ghosts from the past, his wife included, let him go or told him to let go of the past, and he entered this new building to start fresh and anew. I think that's exactly the point they were making. Not very supernatural, not ghostly, not anything, but little bits of the memories certainly were unique to this episode. But I think more of a statement, again, like I said, to round this out, of love and loss and what it can do to you, losing a loved one, basically. And of course, Rod Serling throwing in bits of the tearing down of the old society and bringing up the new, which isn't good. Um, Diane Baker just made the episode, said Edward Stewart. He made me cry, CM. Yes, listen, CM, I was talking about that at the beginning, man. I watched it and it made me think about everything you need to appreciate in life, you know, even to let go of things in the past that is hard to do, no matter how much you want to let go of that, because you can't carry a burden like that, the rest of your life. Life is too short as it is, and to not go on with new opportunities, is a big statement, very, very, very sad. I remember the series back in the 1970s, says Randy Kerr. Okay. Yeah. Very good series. How are you? Pretty good for Saturday. Okay. So you guys, okay. So that leads us to the second episode, The Last Laurel, which a 10-minute episode, like Night Gallery would do. Let me just say the last episode too, Tim Riley's tearing down Tim Riley, reminded me of kind of like bits and pieces of the old Twilight Zone too. So if it was in black and white 10 years earlier, who knows how that would have felt. But The Last Laurel, man, what a wacky episode or story. What a wacky story that they threw in at the last part of this show. The Last Laurel, starring Jack Cassidy as Marius Davis, and his wife Susan Davis, and the doctor, Dr. Armstrong. It's just those three in the story. Marius Davis is a decathlete who basically had an accident or something happened. They don't specify really. And he can't work his legs. He's in a wheelchair or in the bed on his back, as he says, for the rest of my life. I'm on my back for the rest of my life. He calls the good doctor out, Dr. Armstrong, calls him out. Got to come here. It's 30 miles away. And the doctor complains about that when he comes. It's 30 miles away. And I guess there's a bridge that went out, thus not letting him get back, like the old haunted house movies. Not letting him get back. So Marius confronts him, and that's the whole point. And I don't know if Marius had something to do with the bridge, but somehow he made it work to where Dr. Armstrong is going to spend the night there, and his wife Susan Davis, because he accuses Dr. Armstrong of having an affair with his wife. And he brings Susan in, and he tells Susan, I know that you're sleeping with him and all this other stuff, and you're going to love him being here overnight. You're going to love it. I love how he says it. You're going to love it. But he's got something in store for Dr. Armstrong, he says. It's funny that when Susan and Dr. Armstrong close the door and go out into the hall, she says that he's been accusing me this for years, whether it's the paper boy or anybody. But for some reason with you, he really is taking it to heart, because basically saying she's not having an affair with him. She's I guess she's been dedicated to him. She's not cheating with the doctor, because there would have been some kind of conversation there between those two characters that he caught on or listened. Yeah, you know what I mean? And none of that happened. She just was saying, listen, doctor, I don't know why he believes that we have something going on, but He does believe it, and there's nothing I can do. Which I thought was interesting. That usually in an episode like that, they would have them having an affair, because this guy's crippled in bed, and why not have the wife cheating on him with the doctor, the gardener, whatever. I don't, whatever. I've seen too many Giallo movies. Anyways, he's hell bent that they did, and I'm probably going to talk longer than the story was, but let me see. Hold on. Walking distance from the Twilight Zone is similar. Yes, CM. That's the one. That's the one. Walking distance. Yes. Martine Beswick as Susan. Yes. He was a sad, disturbed man. Well, I mean, the dude can't walk no more, man. I mean, I don't know how much they get him in a wheelchair and take him outside and take him on walks or whatever, but if that's the case, that's something, but that's got to suck. But to start accusing of things that, because your mind starts to take over when you're in this condition, I guess, I don't know. He's just gone nutso. There was the other episode, a couple back. I can't remember the episode that I covered already. Was it episode 3 or 4, where the patient was in bed. He was sick. It was an older man, and he had a younger wife, and she was cheating on him, and he went to have them, her and the butler assistant, the handyman guy, killed. But that similar here, but in a different way. So I don't know. Rod Serling, something happened in his life to cause that jealousy and murder. I know you are, but in the story they weren't. So what's this about? This is about Marius, Jack Cassidy, Marius, in bed, an invalid, basically, learns how to astro travel. What to be said for somebody who is handicapped? You know how your other senses take over? Like, once you're blind, they say how heightened your hearing senses are, your sense of smell, you just, the sensing of objects before you. There's just your heightened senses and other things. So you're laying in bed, you can't get out, you want to see what's going on, you have this suspicion. He learns the ability to astral travel, to get himself up and out of his body, okay? And not just astral travel in the sense of being this spirit form or whatever, traveling wherever he wants. He actually can move objects, pick things up, open doors. He's able to do things. So he's really got down the astral travel and leaving his body to do whatever he needs. So having the doctor there, having his wife there, he has this big scheme. Why wouldn't he just, this is one thing. Why wouldn't he, if he could do that, why wouldn't he walk around and see what's really going on? If he can get up, walk, and see what's going on, if she's saying truly there's nothing going on, couldn't he figure that out if he's out of his body? But anyways, for the story's sake, he thinks there is, and he gets out of his body, and the scenes of him in his body, and he does this weird laugh. Jack Cassidy, he chuckles. It's a weird laugh because he knows he's going to kill the doctor, and it's one where I'm like, that's not good acting, and we know you're better than that, Jack Cassidy. But it's funny also how they do the overlapping of film through green screen, blue screen, black screen, whatever they used at the time to get him to be as a ghost in the room, because you can see how it moves. He moves like, kind of Marley's ghost through the room and through the door. And he's basically saying, I'm getting a knife. It's going to be plunged into his neck. And he's going to accuse his wife. His wife's going to be the accused because who else would do it? He can't walk. But the funny thing is, I think he drops the knife, or he doesn't use it. He grabs this large candlestick and uses it almost like a sledgehammer. And he goes into a room. Oh my God. Don't nobody say it in the chat yet. I mean that Jack Cassidy was a sad, disturbed man. CM. Yes. Oh, in real life, you mean? Exactly, on the astral projection. Maybe he could only do once in a while. No, it seemed like he could do it whenever. But he gets out of his body, and instead of grabbing the knives, or he grabs this big, large candlestick, like I said, it's almost like a sledgehammer. He walks into the room, and you see him go like this. Boom! Right on the head. He smacks the head in. Smashes the head in. And then he backs up. And what does he do? He backs up into his knives, his swords, his knives in his stand that are in his bedroom. Okay? So he killed himself. And he says, he goes, oh no, I killed myself. So he's out of his body. He goes to the bed. He doesn't recognize that it's not the doctor and that it's him. And he smashes his own brains in. And he's walking about screaming, going, oh no, I killed myself. He didn't vanish. He didn't disappear, which lends you to believe that, is Rod Serling taking it as that's his soul now, his spirit is out of his body, thus to roam this home or whatever for eternity as a spirit in limbo or whatever? Who knows? I don't know. But because it cuts off real quickly after that. That's the end of the episode, or the story, I mean. That's the end of the story. Yeah, I killed myself. And again, not disappearing and all that. That's what you lend to believe. You know, he's there to. And when that happened, I'm like going, you have got to be kidding me. This guy just killed himself. Oh, man. Jack Cassidy, Marius Davis, whatever. What a way to end your life. But you know what? He was such a bitter man trying to. Anyways, I'm not going to say nothing. But yeah, that's how it ends. Tim Riley's Bar. Man, what an episode. What a reflective episode on anyone that it pertains to. The Last Laurel. What a wacky episode. What an episode to go, what? WTF? WTF? What the heck? I mean, no. Yeah, I mean, it's the weirdest, stupidest thing I ever. I don't know. That story shouldn't have been cropped in with such a good one. I know it was only 10 minutes long. It was very short and just ended, but a very strange story. It was good, but very, very wacky, that's for sure. But yeah, I really loved it. But yeah, so there you go. There's Night Gallery, season 1, episode 6 in the books, talking about it. I love reflecting on what some of these episodes mean, what it's all about, all that good stuff. I like talking about it, that's for sure. But yeah, overnight tonight, you guys, CBS Radio Mystery Theater. Next week, I think I might do I might start rotating Outer Limit episode, Night Gallery episode. Outer Limits, Night Gallery. I think I'm going to start doing that. And the whole thing I started doing, I did the murder mystery stories on Thursday, but didn't go over too well. So again, Thursday might not be a good day, or murder mystery, not really digging it. So I think I'm done with the murder mysteries. If it doesn't hit off, I move on to something new. I'm always looking for new stuff to do. So, but next week, well, tomorrow night, me and Dave Plouffe, first episode of the Wild Wild West. Next weekend, Saturday, I will be doing Outer Limits episode. I don't know which one yet. I think I'm going to just start off with the very first one. Okay, so I think that's the way I'll do it. It's kind of so I can keep going through them all. And me and Dave Plouffe will be doing, I think, another Kolchak. I think, but I'm not sure. Not sure. Should have those posted next couple of days. As to me doing Adam for Christ, hello, what is going on? Good to see you. Outer Limits Night Gallery rotation sounds great. Thank you, Paul Ham. Yes, I think that is what I will be doing. And I've been contemplating this whole, just to geek out a little bit here for a couple minutes to get your guys's, just to throw it out there. I may be starting a whole new channel because I'm also doing my hobby, the Legos, the Lego city, like you see right here. This is a couple of the houses. I've got a diner, I've got a tree house, but I'm getting ready to incorporate a big giant city with streets and Lego homes and diners and stuff like that. And I want to start filming the process of live me hanging out, putting them together as a casual chat maybe, or just an ASMR type thing, just so people can hear me, or playing some old time music or old time radio shows while I'm putting it together. One way or the other, I'm going to be doing either on a different channel. I don't think I'm going to do it on this channel because I don't think it would go over well on this channel. Like if I live streamed me putting a Lego set together with the camera down so that you could see everything I'm doing and putting the pieces together and building. Listen, I sit 4 hours. I could sit at a time if I had the time, but this will give me the chance to sit down for maybe 3-4 hours at a time and maybe chat with people as I'm putting these sets together. So it's either one of those two that I'm going to end up doing. I'm thinking real hard about which one I should do. Dino, you would love Legoland. Oh, I'm sure I would. There's a Lego convention, I forget what it's called, coming 15 minutes away. So I'm going to it. Anyways, so that's in the works. I don't know. I'll figure out what I'm doing. But in the meantime, I hope everybody enjoys the overnight CBS Radio Mystery Theater. And just stay tuned every night. As usual, and I'm not sure what else will be going on this week, but thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. The original Outer Limits was great, Dave Myers. Well, I'll be covering it, that's for sure. I think that'll be an interesting thing to talk about those episodes. I love sci-fi like that. Cheesy sci-fi. Denny! I like the Night Gallery syndicated episodes bundled with the abridged Sixth Sense episodes. The latter, in my honest opinion, was improved by editing them to half an hour. Huh. CM, take care. Peace as always. Later. Okay, so with that said, everybody, peace as always, and cherish every moment you got with your loved ones, right? I guess that's the thing